Hey, what's up, everybody? It's just Charles, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and when we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And boy, oh boy, we have a very fun episode for you guys here today that you definitely want to stick around for. So make sure you go and like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now, I've said this in the past, but I'm going to say it again. MJ is the only NBA player that I've closely observed that gets better the more you dig into his career. It's kind of like weird, like freaky. Recently, we touched on a stat that they put out about Michael Jordan in age 35, I believe, at 1998 Chicago Bulls. And when I heard the accomplishment, this guy won regular, MVP that season, led the league in scoring, won the finals MVP, made all first defensive team that year. Like just cuckoo, like just freaky stuff, right? You're like, okay, somebody did all of that in 1 year. Like if somebody had that type of year in this NBA today, we were like, man, if he has one more year like this, could he be a top 15 player? Like, I mean, it was nuts. And he's the only player that I've seen that has like head scratching after head scratching accomplishment. I've always said that I'm a Kobe guy. Kobe Bryant's my favorite player of all time, but I openly admit that Michael Jordan was better than Kobe. And guess what? It takes absolutely nothing away from me. I sleep like a baby. I don't have any nightmares about it. It doesn't hurt my feelings. Nothing about it, because it's just the truth. But in recent times, however, I've noticed that a lot of people have made unsuccessful attempts to try to knock Jordan off of his GOAT status. Like a lot of people have been trying it. Sometimes we get it in the comments like, why do people feel a type of way? Like whenever you try to say something about Jordan, some people are like, why, how dare you? Yeah, because it's like, bro, these are undisputed things we're talking about here, man. You just can't get up one day and decide, you know what, let me poke holes at this guy's legacy because you know what, he can't really be that good, right? He can't really be that good. Like, come on, maybe you guys are just hyping this dude up way too much. Like, but for as much as they try, they fail, right? And a lot of these guys, for whatever reason, just cannot stand the fact that this guy is a GOAT, right? And it really bothers them, some more than others. Which brings me to an audio clip I saw this morning via fadeawayworld.net, right? And in this clip, you will hear Warriors general manager Bob Myers essentially explain the difference between the regular season and the NBA. So what we want to do is we want to play his comments for you guys, and then we're going to come back and really unpack this so you don't want to miss the second half of this video. Take a listen to that here.
The playoffs are nothing like the regular season. They are two completely different sports. The way it's officiated, the way that he's playing 42 minutes in the playoffs. I don't know what he averaged in the regular season when he was playing. So your bench is completely different in the regular season versus the playoffs.
And you can prepare differently. You can prepare differently.
Absolutely.
You have more time.
And you do prepare differently.
Yeah.
Not only can you do. And you better believe Paul, listening to Doc as his coach in a regular season back-to-back game, he's going in the locker room. He's like, all right, who am I got? You know, in the playoffs, he knows exactly what he's doing. Right. And by the way, in the playoffs, his first move is gone. It's like a baseball player that they say, well, here's our scouting report. He cannot hit a curveball away. He's getting a curveball away every single pitch. So if they say, Paul, take away his right hand drive, and the pick and roll are going to blitz, whatever they know he does well is gone. So that's where you need to check as many boxes as you can. Even shooters, we played some great shooters in the playoffs and have neutralized them. Because if that's all you can do is shoot the three, then you're not necessarily the weapon that we sometimes make you out to be in the regular season. That 2 feet of space you had in the regular season is 2 inches. And you watch how many players cannot make a shot in the playoffs and shoot 42% in the regular season. It's not the same thing. So why does that matter? The more dimensions you have to your game, the harder you are to take away. Shoot the three, get fouled, get to the free throw line, drive to the basket. Well, how am I going to go, Paul? What should I have done against Paul Pierce? I'll let him shoot three. No. Let him go to the rim. No. Foul him. No. Keep him off the free throw. There's too many things he does. Left, right, whatever. Oh, and by the way, let's pick on him defensively. No. That's what makes a Hall of Fame player. So you want as many of those guys as you can. So we can't get too caught up in like, let's have 4 shooters. Okay, well, what if those guys can't do anything else? Can't guard their position? So I think it's more than sometimes we make it out to be. And the people here, I assume, are basketball fans. You watch the playoffs, you'll know who can play basketball. That's when you evaluate players.
Now, some skeptics will say, wait a minute, I didn't hear him mention anything about Michael Jordan. I didn't hear him talk about Michael Jordan. He spoke about Jordan, but he spoke about him indirectly. I'm going to relate his comments to Michael Jordan. And I'll tell you why what he just said is very, very important. We rarely do this on this channel. We rarely do it, but I want us to just focus on Michael Jordan's playoff numbers and accomplishments. And this is a part of content creation that I really enjoy when we really get into this type of stuff here. Now, let's get into it. Michael Jordan has the highest playoff scoring average of any NBA player in the history of basketball. If you comb through the entire league of all the Pantheon greats, all of them, Will Chamberlain, whoever, this guy sits at the top of the mountain when it comes to scoring. He has the highest playoff average. Just listen to this. Michael Jordan, for his playoff career, averaged 33.4 points per game. That's the highest ever. That's an NBA record. He averaged roughly 42 minutes per game, right? So Jordan had this incredible endurance to be able to perform at such a high level. He shot virtually 49% from the field in all of his playoff games. And what makes that number more remarkable? You see, if you just look at stats, they don't really tell you the full picture unless you see how those stats were generated. If you look at MJ's game, especially towards the second half of his NBA career, the majority of his offense was coming from mid-range jump shots. And that's a harder way to score. It's harder to score from the mid-range, hitting jumpers, than it is scoring going to the basket, which makes that efficiency rate so spectacular. He shot 83% from the free throw line in his playoff career, and he averaged 2 steals a game. Now, this is when it starts to get freaky. When I tell you guys that he's the only player that I've observed that the more you dig into his stats, it just becomes freaky. Like, it just was like, okay, this doesn't seem real. Listen to this. Michael Jordan has 38 career 40-point games in the playoffs. 38, right? The next closest person to that in the history of the NBA is LeBron James with 27 or 28 40-point playoff games. Now, here's the kicker. LeBron has played 266 playoff games to Jordan's 179. LeBron has an 85 playoff game lead on Jordan when we're talking about games played. Yet Jordan has more 40-point outbursts in the playoffs. So Jordan had less attempts, or rather LeBron has had more attempts at hitting that record, and yet has not been able to at least equal it, let alone surpass it. It continues on, and it gets freakier. In the finals, listen to this. In the NBA Finals, MJ averaged 33.6 points per game in the finals, which is 5 points higher than LeBron, who's often compared to him, has averaged in the playoffs. LeBron in the playoffs has averaged 28.4 points per game. His career average is about 27. Jordan is 5 points per game better on offense than LeBron. Now, why is that significant? Why is that stat significant? It means that LeBron's playoff scoring, or rather LeBron's scoring, only goes up by 1 point per game from the regular season to the playoffs. Jordan's scoring goes up about 4 points per game, which means that Jordan was actually at his best when the competition was at his best, and his best was just better than everybody else's. This is where all of this is leading to. Here's another astonishing stat about Jordan in the playoffs. And this is unbelievable. MJ has only lost, listen to what I'm telling you. MJ only lost one playoff series when he played with at least one or more all-star teammates. Just one playoff series in which he played with at least one all-star or more. Let that sink in for a second. Just mull that information over for a second. Both Kobe and LeBron have lost at least 8 playoff series with at least one all-star teammate. And here's a final aside for why no other player should be mentioned in the same breath with Jordan ever. People talk about dominance. We just recently did a video, produced a show, where David West talked about how LeBron's been. Listen, if y'all think LeBron has been dominant, y'all don't know what the definition of dominance. Look up the word dominance in sports and you'll see a picture of Michael Jordan sitting there with a cigar in his mouth. Listen to this. From 1990 to 1998, Michael Jordan never lost more than 3 games in a row. I want y'all to think about what I just said. From 1990 to 1998, almost a 10-year window, he never lost more than 3 games. There's no player that can even come close to that. So what is the point I'm making here? According to Bob Myers, GM of the Golden State Warriors, the playoffs, to use his words, is a totally different sport. If that is true, it means that Jordan was a totally different animal. He was simply head and shoulders above anybody that ever played the sport. This is why I say it on so many occasions. It's not close. It ain't close. The distance between him and your favorite player is like the distance between heaven and earth, man. You know why? Because the results say so. That stat alone that I just gave you, those 2 stats, the fact that he never lost more than 3, that is the definition, my friends, of dominance. Not putting up great individual stats. And the fact that he's only lost, one playoff series with at least one all-star teammate tells you everything you need to know. There's nobody on the internet that can bring me an argument to make me think, oh, you know what? This guy may be. There ain't nobody. Nobody. If people tell you there's another player that is the GOAT, they're just saying that because they're using their feelings. And they want that to be true. But it's not true.